We went from Japanese underwater pyramids to Land Between the Lakes. Let's get esoteric. Let's get geometaphysical cashed out. Geocaching? More like geocached out, bro. So LBL is Land Between the Lakes. That's near where I'm from in Tennessee. And there's this... I never heard this story. I don't know where people came up with this. But apparently... I mean, if y'all want to go back to Changing Image, man, we can. I don't care. Y'all are the boss. But there's this myth of the Dogman. And I'm trying to think of what would have been my story. So Dogman is supposedly this, I guess he's a werewolf. I don't know what he is. An anaglanche. But here's the thing. I'm from Tennessee. I've never heard of Dogman. Okay. Until suddenly, now that Bigfoot is super popular. Bigfoot's like an E-diva now. Everybody does these Bigfoot videos. And with the rise of Bigfoot, you could say that one of his side chicks is Dogman, who's like the B-level celebrity to Bigfoot, which is this supposed creature that's in LBL. Now, LBL is a giant... Oh, I know what the LBL stories are. I know what it is. So this is a giant government appropriated land in Tennessee and in Kentucky, and anybody can go there. It's like a park, national park, Land Between the Lakes, and it's campgrounds and all this kind of stuff, fishing. It's giant, right? It's a huge area. And the reason it's a government appropriated land, it has to do with the Tennessee Valley Authority, and that goes back to FDR and the Manhattan Project. So the Manhattan Project to build the bomb is out of, is it Oakville, Tennessee, I think. So a lot of the work that was done in that area of Tennessee. And so they created out of a river a giant basin that's called now Kentucky Lake. It used to be just a Tennessee river, but they put a dam in Kentucky. It's the Kentucky Dam. And then they flooded all that area because they were building nuke plants. So up here in Kentucky, around Grand Rivers and Lake City, there's like a giant, creepy looking nuclear facility. And they needed a lot of water, dam energy to do all this, right? So, but a lot of it was like FDR, scammery for the government, just appropriating giant swaths of land to be owned by the socialist. Oak Ridge, thank you, not Oakville. Oak Ridge, Tennessee, exactly. So Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and all that is part of this TVA appropriation of all this land, and so it's a weird government area. First of all, but I've never heard of Dogman. Not that necessarily means anything, but like, by the way, this guy looks like every dude in Tennessee. Is this big fat redneck dude?
A creature attacking and killing 2 civilians in this area up here in 1979.
So here's the thing that is my immediate rational explanation for Dogman. It turns out that people don't know this, and I never saw this until recently. There's bears now in West Tennessee. I've never heard of a bear in West Tennessee until recently. So in my hometown, somebody was out by the airport one day and a freaking bear was walking down the road. Okay. West Tennessee is not like East Tennessee. It's totally different. But apparently bears are migrating west for whatever reason. And now we're getting bears throughout West Tennessee. But I never heard of that when I was a kid until now. So you'll notice right here, look, August 7th, black bears are sighted in West Tennessee. So the bad boys are wandering all the way down from the Smoky Mountains and all of that East Tennessee, Dolly Parton area. And they're coming down here and they're in our area. So my first thought is, and by the way, to get to West Tennessee, the bears have to go through LBL. So they're walking and they're traveling around and people go and camp in LBL and then they think they're seeing Wolfman. And it's a freaking bear, dude, obviously. Now, isn't that like the most obvious explanation that rather than Dogman? However, my family are longtime Tennessee hunting fishing guides. I know what Slow Boy's talking about. I remember now. So I was talking to my dad, and he was talking about my uncle, who is the one that's the famous, not publicly famous, but he's famous in Air Force intelligence because he was the first person to overhear Russian ICBM launch when they were flying missions out of Turkey over the Soviets. Anyway, so when he came back to Tennessee after the war, he was offered a job at the Pentagon, and he turned it down. And instead, my uncle, he set up a hunting and fishing guide business around this area. So he's basically in the LBL area. My uncle lives roughly in this region, and spent many, many years, many decades before he passed away, being a hunting and fishing guide. And he was with some other family members who are hunting fishing guides. And this is my memory of this story as my dad told it. And my dad never makes up stories. He's like a super rational military dude, right? So he says that they were deep in LBL, which again is a giant area. So I was going to show you guys the expanse. I mean, this is a huge area. I mean, LBL is big enough that you could get lost and die in it, right? It's that big.
Back in.
Like, if you drive from the bottom of LBL all the way up to the top at Grand Rivers in Kentucky, it takes you about hour and a half to get through all of it. And that's just from down here at the bottom up there to the left where you see it says Grand Rivers. That's about 1.5, maybe even 2 hours to get up there. So it would take even longer to get all the way up to the very tip up there. I don't even think I've ever been up there. But so the story is that they were hunting deep in LBL, and you have to get like licenses and all this kind of stuff because it's government land. But I think you can hunt on it if you have the right license or whatever, or the right connections. And they're not drug people. They weren't doing drugs. They don't do drugs. They're not weed smokers. They're not acid trippers. They're hunting fishing guides, right? And hunting fishing guide people might drink beer, but they're not drug people. And they said that when they set up their camp, I think they said it was around dusk, they swear that they saw an Indian paddling an Indian, like a paddle boat, dressed in like old Indian style garb. What moccasins and what do Indians wear? Moccasins and pelts. I don't know. Indian paddle, not a boat, but like a, I can't even get the, what am I trying to think of? Like a kayak? Is that like an Indian thing? Like this. This is what I'm talking about. Canoe. I don't know. I couldn't think of the word freaking canoe, dude. Indian kayak. Indian canoe. And they saw Indians wearing Indian garb in the middle of LBL, in the middle of nowhere, a long time ago. And they have no idea what that was. They couldn't figure that out. So, here's my version of this creepy story. So I have a really good friend who was in the Coast Guard, and I believe him when he tells the story. One of the things we used to do in high school, because we lived next to this, right? If you wanted to party in high school, you go camp in LBL, or you go driving deep in LBL and do your, high school mischievous activities, right? So we used to camp down here sometimes in high school, and we'd party, and we'd, try to bring girls and have fun, have a campfire and all that. Well, one of my buddies was, when he got out of the Coast Guard, he was out traveling and just for the hell of it, wanted to do a deep dive drive into LBL. And he got way deep into there because there's all these weird roads and there's all these kind of side roads. And it's a very bizarre area. I will admit that. And he swears that he came across a Vietnamese village of people in the middle of LBL. And I didn't know what to think when he told me this, but looking back and having, read several books that deal with kind of government movement of people groups, there probably was some settlement of people set up in LBL. See, here's people in the chat saying we used to go at LBL and tell stories about LBL. Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stories. Or tell stories about LBJ. That's funny. I could believe that during the Vietnam War or something, maybe they moved an entire village of people to the middle of LBL. Maybe there's some government project to allow people to continue to live in some sheltered existence out there. There's also areas of LBL, by the way, that you'll drive down and you'll see signs. This was up in Kentucky version or area of it. I was with my buddy, and one day we were driving out in the middle of nowhere trying to find weird stuff in LBL, and we came across signs that warned you to stop, turn around, because you were in an IED military explosive test ground. So I've seen that. And also very close to LBL. And remember, we are right next to Fort Campbell, which is the massive 101st Airborne Division military base. So the giant military base is right next to it. Do you remember when it came out that there was an entire Islamic city being set up in Dover, Tennessee? This was a big deal back. Alex covered it back in the day. And it's called Islamberg. This is so fake. And one of the 9/11 connected people you'll find news stories about this. So there was an actual jihadi group that was set up outside of Dover, Tennessee, which is in LBL, basically, right next to it. Right next to the military base, by the way. And this was a huge deal. And everybody was talking about this back at the time, and nobody could figure out why they would do this. Why would you set up with Fed support a group where Sheikh Jilani is the head of this group? I'm trying to find a good video on it. Here we go.
Robert Doggart is a Christian minister who ran for Congress in Tennessee in 2014. In April, he was arrested and charged with plotting to attack a small Muslim village called Islamberg. This rural community in upstate New York is headquarters of the Muslims of America.
Now, that's the New York version. The same Islamberg has a satellite in Dover, right?
A national Islamic organization that oversees dozens of communities like this one. We were invited to visit Islamberg during the holy month of Ramadan, as the community dealt with...
Now, a lot of these people are black dudes that are out of prison that got converted to Islam through Islam prison propaganda, right?
News of Doggart's alleged violent plot.
Who is this man? This man doesn't know us. I don't think this man ever saw any one of us.
How do I feel?
Now, this guy who ever did this was up in New York, is obviously a retarded evangelical goober who fell for all the 9/11 stuff. But, these communities are like 50 people, right? They're like tiny communities. And yeah, they are weird and radical, right? But what I'm saying is that these are obviously there because the feds are putting them there and helping them be there, right? I'm trying to find the one in Tennessee. They keep talking about the one in New York, but it looks like a lot of the videos are gone. Because there used to actually be quite a few YouTube videos about this too, like news clips and whatnot. But they're only talking about this supposed attack by this boomer at the Islamberg in New York, which is really weird.
Signal Mountain man accused of planning an attack on a mosque in New York.
Oh, he's a boomer from Tennessee. Interesting. Why would he attack the one in New York and not the freaking one in Tennessee? That doesn't make any sense.
Anderson Cooper, AC 360, CNN weeknights 10 Eastern.
This mosque in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, what evidence do you have?
This is weird because you can't. It's almost like this is scrubbed or something. Like you can't find anything of it. I know it's there. I know it's probably still there. Yeah, here we go. Sheikh Gilani from Pakistan, the leader of Jamaat al-Fuqra, right? Yeah, this is it. Here it is. This is Dover, Tennessee, Islamberg, a bunch of trailers. It's just a trailer park, that's all it is. Let's see if this has been taken down. Yep. What is this? This is like bikers, idiot patriot bikers are gonna ride through Islamberg. We're gonna show them Muslims whose side we're on. Oh, this is up there at the New York thing. What a bunch of dummies! Like this is intended to provoke you on purpose, dude. That's what this is for. Anyway, as this old article here points out, it's there by design. In fact, I remember researching this at the time, and there were actual FBI operatives would actually go and host picnics at Islamberg in Tennessee regularly. So this is absolutely some kind of Fed-run thing here, whatever this is. And it's there on purpose to agitate all of these dumb, good old boys in Tennessee that think that they're going to go fight Al-Qaeda. We'll fight Al-Qaeda. They're bringing in the Muslims to fight. They don't even realize it's like the establishment that's doing it on purpose. Anyway. So now that we've talked about Islamberg, which is down here, you can't really see it on this map, but it's kind of at the bottom of this. It's just another layer of the weirdness. You hope you're joking, right? Why would they do such a thing? The same people that run Al-Qaeda? Well, I wonder why. Don't think about it for a minute. Why would they do that? And then they dupe some dumb boomer to go try to attack the compound, which is the stupidest thing ever. Troy the Docs, $5. I used to like Graham Hancock, Joseph Campbell, all the ancient alien stuff. I'm embarrassed to say. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Everybody likes that. I think everybody at some point had, an ancient aliens Graham Hancock phase. Like I remember I read, Pyramids of the Gods? Fingerprints of the Gods. I got it over here on my shelf. I read Fingerprints of the Gods back in 2005 or 6, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, this is so cool." And I mean, I think some of the stuff that he talks about is legit, right? But the problem with Graham Hancock is that he always turns it to some kind of weird Gnostic thing. You know what I mean? Like he turns it into, oh yeah, it's the it's the Watchers and that's the real gods and all this. It just turns into Gnostic gibberish, and it ends up being. And his whole thing is just trying to prove that we have the wrong age of the Earth, and the calendars are all wrong because Enlil and Enki lived to be 100,000 years old or whatever. Anyway. So Dogman, LBL, I don't know. I would venture to think that it's a bear. But the other thing I want to tell you about LBL that is also kind of weird is the Murray vampires. So I went to Murray State University, as you guys know. And right next to Murray State is the Murray Vampire Hotel. I think we talked about this before. And this happened when I was in high school. And look how cringe and gay goth these dudes are. Look at this guy. Rod Farrell, that's his name. So, of course, when this happened, everybody was like going crazy about this back in the 90s. And basically this dude, Rod Farrell, created a vampire cult. And you say, well, he was just a cringe clown, but he took it serious, right? So this guy was pretty serious about his vampirism. He did have some occult texts. He did have the Satanic Bible. He did have I forget what else. He had a few kind of weird esoteric texts. And so he was trying to take it pretty seriously, right? And they would do their rituals at this place in LBL at an old abandoned ruins of a hotel, right? And I think you guys saw, we actually showed a video of this place, and every high schooler in Tennessee and Kentucky in this area, you go there, right? Because like, oh, let's go to the old vampire hotel, because it's kind of attained this sort of legendary status, and it's now called the Vampire Hotel in LBL. Land Between the Legs. This is it right here. I'm about to rap about the hotel. It's that Vampire Hotel. All them hoes gonna tell about the Vampire Hotel. Anyway, I don't know who this dude is, but he went there, right? So you basically get off the interstate and then you walk up the hill and there's this giant Vampire Hotel there, right? I don't know what all this is, but this is where Rod and his vamps did their rituals. Now, the crazy thing was that they killed... Who did they kill? They killed his girlfriend's parents or something. Like, they actually did a legit sacrifice. And then I think they killed one other person. And the weird part was that Rod always insisted that, like, he really was a vampire. So even as Rod aged, I think he got the death penalty. I can't remember if he's dead or what, but even as he aged, like, he still insisted that he was a vampire. And then it's like, I think they killed the girl's mom, yeah, or grandparents or something. Even as he like got the death penalty, like, he still insisted he was a vampire and that you couldn't kill him. It's like, now I'm pretty sure when you come out of the lethal chamber or whatever, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna make it, bro.
In the considered judgment of this court, a troubled and disturbed youth cannot serve as an excuse for cold-blooded, premeditated murder.
In spite of his youth, the state of Florida sentenced Rod to death. Now he's on death.
By the way, the reason it's the state of Florida was because they left Tennessee and Kentucky and drove down to Florida to commit the murder. So the murder happened in Florida. That's why he's being tried in Florida and why he ended up getting it's the traditional Catholic vampire rite. So it's actually tried. It's based and tried. But here's the thing. People always act like, oh, there's no such thing as satanic ritual murder and crime. I'm like, dude, I was like, what are you talking about? There's like a huge case one city over from me in the 1990s. Everybody grew up with it. What are you talking about? Oh, but he wasn't rich and powerful. You don't have to be rich and powerful to be a committed Satanist, dummy. What are you talking about? Absolutely, there's satanic ritual murder crime. This is a famous case. It was next door to me in high school. I know all about it.
Waiting to go to the electric chair.
The electric chair has always been a main icon in the darker way of life. You know,
so here this goober's all like, look how arrogant he is. Like, just total demonic pride, right? And he really believed that he had committed this sacrifice because he was an immortal vampire who had pledged his soul to Satan. I kid you not.
One sees it as this big, majestic throne of death. So I always did wonder what it would be like to sit in it and actually experience death through it. So that part doesn't really bother me at all.
Now, I just wanted to watch this to see what they identify as his books, like what actual text he was reading, because I don't remember what books he was reading. It is dweebs, but you got to understand, like, these dweebs actually went and killed people, right? So just because you're a dweeb doesn't mean you can't be possessed. This is pre-Twilight, by the way. This is like 1995, I think, when this happened.
Blood make them immortal.
It's almost orgasmic. To feel them feeding energy from you and then drinking their energy into yourself. I guess you could say, say I had gone 2 weeks without feeding. It would be almost as if I were drunk. If I were getting drunk. You would get a rush, a buzz, an adrenaline rush. Most people would say that it's psychological. It's not psychological. There's something about it. There are those of us who are of a different nature, I guess you could say, vampires.
We're more evolved than you, bro. We're the next higher level of the species. We're so beyond you. And we're so cringe and gay, by the way.